What does it truly mean to live a meaningful life? And why do so many people, even after achieving what society calls success, feel an unexplainable emptiness inside? This question has echoed through every generation, but in the modern world, it has become louder, more persistent, and harder to ignore. We live in an age of speed, visibility, and constant stimulation, yet very little depth. People know more than ever before, but understand themselves less. They are connected to thousands, yet disconnected from their own inner life. Jesus addressed this reality long before social media, careers, and modern pressure existed. His teachings were never focused on external accumulation, public recognition, or temporary comfort. Instead, Jesus spoke directly to the inner life of a person, the heart, the thoughts, the intentions, and the direction of the soul. When he spoke about life, he spoke about alignment with truth. He warned that a person could gain the entire world and still lose what truly matters. This statement alone challenges the foundation of modern ambition. It forces a pause, an uncomfortable reflection. If everything I am chasing does not bring peace, meaning, or inner stability, then what am I really building? The code of wisdom begins here with this question. Jesus consistently redirected attention away from what people possess and toward who they are becoming. He taught that life is not measured by abundance, status, or achievement, but by the condition of the heart before God. This wisdom stands in direct opposition to a culture that defines worth by productivity and visibility. According to Jesus, meaning is not something added to life later, after success is achieved. Meaning is the foundation upon which life should be built from the very beginning. Without that foundation, no amount of progress can prevent inner collapse. The teachings of Jesus invite us to slow down, reflect, and confront the uncomfortable truth that a busy life is not the same as a meaningful one. Meaning, in his teaching, flows from truth, obedience, humility, and a deep trust in God rather than in self-sufficiency. Jesus often spoke about foundations because he understood that life will inevitably face storms. He compared two lives, one built on rock and another built on sand. At first glance, both may appear stable, successful, and well-constructed. But when the storms come, suffering, loss, disappointment, uncertainty, only one remains standing. This teaching reveals a critical aspect of the code of wisdom. Meaning is not proven in comfort, but in crisis. A life built on external validation, material success, or constant approval may feel secure when circumstances are favorable, but it collapses when those supports are removed. Jesus taught that wisdom is hearing his words and putting them into practice. This means that wisdom is not theoretical. It is lived. It is revealed in choices made when no one is watching, in integrity when compromise would be easier, and in faith when fear seems more reasonable. The modern world often equates intelligence with wisdom, but Jesus made a clear distinction. One can be highly educated and still live foolishly. Wisdom, according to Jesus, is alignment between belief and action. It is choosing obedience over impulse, truth over convenience, and faith over control. This kind of wisdom requires patience because it does not offer immediate rewards. It requires humility because it acknowledges dependence on God rather than on personal strength. And it requires courage because it often leads against the current of popular opinion. A meaningful life, as Jesus taught, is not one that avoids storms, but one that is prepared for them. It is a life anchored in something unshakable, something eternal, something that does not change when circumstances do. This anchoring is what gives meaning its depth and resilience. One of the most radical teachings of Jesus about meaning is his focus on the heart. He repeatedly emphasized that external behavior is a reflection of internal reality. Anger, fear, pride, greed, and anxiety do not begin in circumstances. They begin within. For Jesus, transformation always starts from the inside out. This is deeply relevant to modern life, where people attempt to fix internal emptiness through external change, new routines, new relationships, new achievements. Yet the emptiness often remains. Jesus taught that the heart is the source of life, and if the heart is misaligned, everything else eventually follows. This is why he spoke so often about repentance, which is not merely feeling regret, but changing direction. A meaningful life requires an honest examination of what governs the heart. Is it fear or faith? Control or trust? Pride or humility? Jesus taught that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of trust in God. This teaching dismantles the modern belief that peace can be engineered by controlling every outcome. Instead, peace becomes the result of surrender. To live meaningfully according to Jesus is to accept that not everything can be controlled, predicted, or secured. Faith fills the gap where certainty ends. This is not passive resignation, but active trust. It is choosing to anchor one's life in God's character rather than in circumstances. The Code of Wisdom teaches that inner peace is not a reward for perfect conditions, but a fruit of alignment with God's will. Jesus also taught that meaning is inseparable from love for God and love for others. This love is not sentimental or superficial, it is sacrificial and demanding. To love others as Jesus taught is to forgive when forgiveness feels undeserved, to serve without expecting recognition, and to act with compassion even when it costs something. In a world driven by self-promotion and personal gain, this teaching appears foolish. Yet Jesus insisted that greatness is found in service, and that those who seek to save their life by selfish means will ultimately lose it. This paradox lies at the heart of the Code of Wisdom. Meaning increases when life is given away rather than hoarded. Jesus lived this truth fully. He did not pursue power, wealth, or status, yet his life had unmatched impact. This challenges the assumption that influence and meaning require visibility and authority. According to Jesus, the most meaningful lives are often the quietest ones, lives marked by faithfulness, integrity, and love expressed in ordinary moments. This wisdom invites a re-evaluation of priorities. It asks whether life is being lived for applause or for faithfulness, for recognition or for righteousness. A meaningful life, in Jesus' teaching, is one that reflects God's love in action, not just in words. This kind of life leaves a legacy not of achievements, but of transformation in the lives of others. Another essential element of the Code of Wisdom is Jesus' teaching on anxiety and trust. He spoke directly to human worry, acknowledging the natural tendency to fear the future. Yet he consistently pointed people back to God's provision and care. Jesus taught that anxiety reveals what we trust most. When trust is placed in possessions, plans, or personal ability, fear grows because all of these are fragile. When trust is placed in God, fear loses its power, even when uncertainty remains. This teaching does not deny the reality of hardship, but it reframes it. Jesus invited people to live one day at a time, not as an escape from responsibility, but as an act of faith. Meaning is found not in constant anticipation of tomorrow, but in faithful presence today. The Code of Wisdom teaches that a meaningful life is not rushed. It is attentive, intentional, and rooted in gratitude. Jesus often withdrew into silence and solitude, modeling a rhythm of life that contrasts sharply with modern busyness. This rhythm is essential for meaning, because constant noise drowns out reflection. A life without reflection becomes reactive rather than intentional. Jesus' example shows that wisdom requires space to listen, to pray, to realign. Without this space, even good pursuits can become empty. Meaning, according to Jesus, is cultivated in stillness as much as in action. Jesus also redefined success in a way that challenges every generation. He warned against storing treasures that can be lost and encouraged the pursuit of treasures that endure. This teaching confronts the illusion that success guarantees fulfillment. Many people reach milestones only to discover that the satisfaction they expected never arrives. Jesus also redefined success in a way that challenges every generation. He warned against storing treasures that can be lost and encouraged the pursuit of treasures that endure. This teaching confronts the illusion that success guarantees fulfillment. Many people reach milestones only to discover that the satisfaction they expected never arrives. This perspective reshapes decisions, priorities, and values. It encourages patience over urgency and faithfulness over quick results. The Code of Wisdom teaches that a life oriented toward eternity gains depth and clarity in the present. This does not diminish ambition, but purifies it. Goals become expressions of purpose rather than substitutes for it. Work becomes service. Success becomes stewardship. Life becomes meaningful not because it is easy, but because it is aligned with something greater than the self. One of the most challenging aspects of Jesus' teaching on meaning is his call to self-denial. In a culture that promotes self-expression and self-fulfillment as ultimate goals, Jesus' words sound counterintuitive. Yet he taught that denying oneself is not about self-hatred, but about self-ordering. It is about placing God at the center rather than the ego. The Code of Wisdom teaches that when the self becomes the ultimate reference point, meaning collapses under the weight of expectation. The self was never meant to be the source of purpose. It was meant to be a vessel for it. Jesus invited people to lose their life in order to find it, revealing that true identity is discovered not through self-obsession, but through surrender to God. This surrender is not passive. It is an active choice to trust God's wisdom over personal desire. Meaning, in this sense, is discovered gradually through obedience and faithfulness. Is not revealed all at once, but unfolds as life aligns with God's direction. This process requires patience and perseverance, qualities often undervalued in modern culture, yet without them, meaning remains shallow and unstable. Jesus' life itself serves as the ultimate illustration of the Code of Wisdom. By worldly standards, his life appeared unsuccessful. He had no wealth, no political power, and no institutional authority. Yet his life was deeply meaningful because it was fully aligned with God's will. This alignment gave him clarity, purpose, and peace, even in suffering. Jesus showed that meaning is not negated by hardship. It is often revealed through it. He taught that suffering, when endured with faith, can produce depth, compassion, and spiritual maturity. This teaching offers a radically different perspective on pain. Rather than seeing it as meaningless interruption, Jesus framed it as a context for growth and trust in God. The Code of Wisdom does not promise a life free from pain, but it offers a framework through which pain can be understood and endured without losing hope. This is especially relevant in a world that seeks constant comfort and avoids discomfort at all costs. Jesus taught that comfort is not the highest good. Truth is, and living in truth, while often difficult, leads to a deeper and more enduring sense of meaning. Ultimately, what Jesus taught about a meaningful life can be summarized as a call to alignment. Alignment between belief and action, heart and behavior, faith and daily living. Meaning is not something that appears suddenly. It is cultivated through consistent choices, guided by wisdom. The Code of Wisdom invites each person to examine their foundation, their priorities, and their source of trust. It challenges the listener to ask whether their life is built on temporary values or eternal truth. This wisdom is not reserved for the religious elite. It is offered freely to all who are willing to listen and reflect. Jesus did not complicate meaning. He clarified it. He taught that life finds its fullness not in possession, control, or recognition, but in relationship with God. To live meaningfully, according to Jesus, is to walk in truth, love, humility, and faith, even when the path is narrow and the cost is high. This is the code of wisdom, not a secret formula, but a way of life that leads to depth, peace, and purpose in a world that desperately needs all three.